Hello, everyone. I am Paul Richard, and I am here with Reid Schwartz, and he is my guest today. A couple things about Reid you should know is number one, he is a realtor, and he is also an EXP realtor and also a Sphere Rocket white label partner, as I am in the virtual assistant world. So we're going to talk a little bit about you, Reid, today. Opening up, tell us a little bit about your bio and your background.
Well, it kind of depends on how far back you want to go, but
Yeah. I was
we'll
born at a
start
very
with the
young
more
age. I was born
recent
at a very young
past.
age.
Before I got into real estate, I had a wood-fired pizza business with my kids, and my wife, and we did that for a while. And then I've been a licensed real estate broker for the last 8 years. And also prior to all that, my dad owned a small boutique brokerage out on a small island that you only get to by airplane or boat or a ferry boat. At the time, probably it was like 1,800 people on the island, so it was a real nichey thing.
Ah,
But fantastic, lots
interesting.
of people buying second homes and some amazing waterfront properties. But I was
Very
involved
good.
in that on the marketing side, not as an agent. And then, yeah, after I closed my restaurant, my personal realtor called me up a couple days after I closed the restaurant and said, "Hey, Reid, when you getting your real estate license?" So, something I looked at for a long time, and 8 years ago, I pulled the pin and did it. And been with a couple different companies. Been with EXP now for over 2 years, and absolutely love it, and really enjoying it. And just keep growing the business and always learning new stuff.
And just for the listeners, where are you located now?
I'm in LaConner, Washington. I cover Island and Skagit counties, which are about an hour and a half north of Seattle. Really beautiful, picturesque area where I live. Here is the tulip capital of almost the world. We actually grow more tulips in the Skagit Valley here than they do in Holland.
No
And
kidding. Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
absolutely
Interesting.
beautiful. Whidbey Island, where I lived for 30 years, is just a 20-minute drive away.
Wow.
Absolutely beautiful. I live on an island here. It's called Fadago Island, and then Whidbey Island. There's a bridge to get to Whidbey Island. Uh, Very
That's
picturesque.
awesome. So what's your seasons like up there? What's the seasons like?
Well, we get the four of them, but I grew up in Southern California where you got summer and summer light. So uh,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
no
no,
kidding.
yeah. We've our weather is summertime is a mild summer, probably, for a lot of the compared to a lot of the country. If we hit the 90s, that's a couple of days a year. I've been here for 30 years, and I think we hit over 100, like twice, and everybody melted. And then the in the wintertime, we get down below freezing. We get in the 20s, occasionally in the teens. We don't get a lot of snow. We get I would say every other year we get snow where it actually sticks around a little bit, and probably once every 6 or 8 years there's a foot or more of snow where it's actually kind of becomes an inconvenience. But so we don't get a ton of snow. We get lots of snow in the mountains. The mountains are just an hour and a half drive away, so we got to look at it, but we don't have to live in it.
Very good. Very good. Uh, Interesting here. So I'd like to maybe in your case, obviously there's the whole realtor world, and then there's the virtual assistant world that you're in. Well, I guess my thought, my question, my inquiry here would be, when did you realize you needed a virtual assistant, and what time frame was that? And then what was your first hire like? Maybe go through a little bit of that to give me an idea of how you arrived at the solution of a virtual assistant.
Yeah, I knew I wanted a virtual assistant several years ago. Wasn't quite sure how to go about it. In the past, when I had my restaurant, I had over 20 employees. So I've had employees. When I got out of that business, I swore I would never have another employee. Um, but the virtual assistant solved most of my issues. headaches of dealing with all the taxes and fine fees and with the state and the feds and filing taxes, and just a pain that I didn't want to deal with anymore. So when about 3 years ago, I decided, hey, I really needed to hire a virtual assistant. A lot of it was for social media. 30 years ago, I owned a video production business, so I am comfortable doing video. I'm comfortable editing video. I mind being on camera, but it becomes very time consuming. And I enjoy doing it, but it's not a great use of my time. So I had actually looked into, there's a website, onlinejobs.ph, that is basically you pay for a membership on the website and you're running ads in the Philippines for virtual assistants. And so I decided to do that. So I signed up and then I posted my ad, and within a week, I was just inundated with resumes. But I had been very specific in my job description of what I was looking for. But the people that were replying were not very specific. They were not qualified for what I was asking for. They were just throwing resumes out and seeing if they'd stick somewhere. And and literally I got like 60 resumes in like a week, and I was busy selling real estate. I didn't have time to sit down. That's a lot of resumes to go through and then try to pick out. And I literally just said, never mind, I give, and shut the ad down and said, never mind, I'm not doing this. I don't have time for this. And and then it was, about a year later when I finally was introduced to Sphere Rocket, through another realtor that I'd talked to who had virtual assistants, and he told me about Sphere Rocket. And when I first reached out to them, they sent me some of these standard operating procedures and tasks that a virtual assistant can do for real estate and for other jobs, social media manager, a bunch of stuff. And I think it was like an 80-page PDF that I received. And I was overly impressed because there were literally things on the real estate one that, after what I've been in business for 6 years at the time, there were things on that list I kind of looked at and went, wow, I'm supposed to be doing that? And I was like, oh, okay. And I can get somebody else to do that. I was really impressed with the thoroughness of the amount of information they provided me. And so I moved forward with that. And my first hire was a social media manager. And it's been nothing but fantastic since then. My social media manager, when I hired her, she, for the first couple of weeks, while she was building out a plan for our social media marketing, in the meantime, she was just taking care of what I was throwing at her. I'm just like, here, I shot this video, put some captions on it, post it, And so she was just reacting to everything I was throwing at her while she was building out this plan. At the first of the next month, we sat down and she put together and presented to me this marketing plan, which was way more organized than anything I had previously had. I did a lot of social media, but it was very hit and miss, and I would have an idea and run with it. My ADHD would just say, yeah, do that. And so she came up with a plan with different types of content for different days of the week. We actually, had themed each day, and some of it was stuff for me to shoot video. Some of it was just graphical posts that she's doing and carousels. And so we've been running with that. But the big light bulb moment for me was at the end of the month, we sat down and did a review. She pulled all the KPI, all the numbers for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere, which honestly was something I had not really spent very much time looking at. I've glanced at it once in a while, but was not part of my normal routine. So she had all this data put together, and my Instagram reach had gone up 3,500% in 30 days, which I thought that was a pretty impressive number.
That is an impressive number. Did you notice, other than that statistic, did you notice any difference in your business at all, like as far as inquiries or potential people looking to work with you?
Not initially. I think that took a little while longer, but yeah, I've definitely seen a pickup in that. And when I initially hired her, my targeting for her was staying in front of my past clients in my sphere. was that, 36-point touch program. I wanted to be in front of those people. I was trying to do that. I've been implementing a plan myself for a while and was just overloaded. I had need to sell real estate. In our line of work, we get paid.
Yeah.
The thing that rings the register is negotiating transactions, and
Right.
you got to stay in front of people. That whole, people work with people they know, like, and trust, and you want to be top of mind. And so that was my main thing. Now we've moved more. We do more. It's targeted at bringing in new clients, but a big chunk of it still remains staying in front of my past clients, because I think, and the statistics bear out, that you get the best return on your investment from what you're going to get by staying repeat business with a past client, as opposed to what you're going to spend to get a brand new client. And that goes back to when I owned a restaurant. When I owned a restaurant, we had reasons restaurants have birthday clubs and all that stuff, and we did all that was
Sure.
it's way cheaper to get somebody to come back in and become a regular, come in and have dinner every Friday night in your restaurant, than all the marketing it does to get somebody who's never heard of you to come in and eat dinner in your restaurant. And real estate's no
Yes.
different.
Yes. And you're
Yeah.
trying to create a habit, right? You're trying to create a habit of them coming in on a regular basis, because now they know what the food's like. They have expectations set now. Those types of things. I know exactly what you're talking about, because I'm in Branson, Missouri, and we just got a Texas Roadhouse that opened last week. And so everybody was anticipating that. For us, a little town, that's a big deal to get a Texas Roadhouse. And so, it was packed. They had 42 servers there that opening night, if you can believe that. And it was rocking and rolling. And of course, they have a culture that they build. I really, really like their culture. It's everybody's happy, having fun, and they got a fun way of doing business. And we had a great experience, just like we expected to, right? And with your business and that business, you're trying to create that habit. I had that conversation, or I had a conversation today near what you're talking about, where there's a difference between advertising and marketing, right? So you've got what I would term your unmet database, or your unmet people, right?
Right.
They don't know you, so to reach those people, you do some forms of advertising to attract them, right? So it's either a Google ad, or it's a billboard, or whatever. You're just trying to get somebody to click or call or text you, or whatever trying to get some call to action in there. And then you've got your met people, which could either be your past database or past client database, or just people that and know, love, and trust you, right? So
Right.
you've got that group. And you're absolutely right. You mentioned that. You said it's so much easier, and statistically, I saw a Harvard study just recently. I was doing some ChatGPT research, that if you do touch those people that you already have met and are past clients, and you touch them 36 times a year, then your business with them will go up from 10 to 30%. Over the course of the number of either referrals and or direct business with that group in that database and stuff. And so I think that's the low-hanging fruit in any
Yeah.
business, right? And even if you're launching, you still have a met group of people that in your life that you can, contact and let them know what you're doing now, right? It may be a new business or whatever, that type of thing.
Absolutely.
So that's great. That's encouraging. That's a neat thing. Just a question back to Sphere Rocket. So had you hired, if I understood, did you hire somebody before Sphere Rocket and then somebody different?
No. I
Or
hired
what
my
happened?
first. I researched. I tried to hire, or I did advertising through onlinejobs.ph, and I didn't do that. I
Oh,
didn't. So I hired my first VA was through Sphere Rocket.
okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So now I understand. So that was somewhat in the middle of COVID, right? If it was 3
Yeah,
years
towards
ago or
the end.
so,
Yeah, about two
somewhere in
years ago.
that's Okay, so similar to when I made my first hire. Um, so what was your experience like as far as comparing that versus the online PH type thing? Of course, what
Well,
was better.
yeah. Online jobs.ph. I mean, like I said, I was just inundated with all these unqualified people. And I was already,
Yeah.
concerned, there's a lot of things involved in how you manage someone halfway around the world. Um, and so when I came to Sphere Rocket, and I hired, number one, they screened people so that, they go through, I think, 2 or 3 interviews before I interview them, before we do that. So they've screened people for qualification for their skills and stuff. And then you're down to interviewing and finding who's the right fit for you and who, and more of that personal connection. So when I hired, but once from the time I connected with and hired Sphere Rocket, but before I went through actually did the interview, which I think it was a couple of weeks for them to advertise and interview people and get ready. They they have a training program that you went through that was all the ins and outs of how you hire and how you work with or how they do it. And it's not a rigid system. It's you can do whatever you want. But I was very impressed because it was that, but this is what's worked for thousands of people. And if it ain't broke, don't
Yeah.
fix it. So I kind of jumped in that way, and there's a few tools. Some of them a lot of them you can use for free. Some of them I've upgraded to the paid version because I use them enough. Like Slack, I use Slack for several different organizations now, not just Sphere Rocket, but sort of with Sphere Rocket, with a couple nonprofits I'm on the board of, with my own VAs. EXP Realty has now moved everything to Slack. So, when I first started, it's one of those things. Every time you get a new tool in the toolbox, you got to learn how to use it. And first, you learn how to use it, and you can make it work. And over time, hopefully, you become proficient with it. I'm still working on becoming pretty proficient. I use the hell out of it compared to what I did 2 years ago. But I'm constantly finding new features and better things I can do with it. But yeah, Slack is an amazing app that's very central, and I'm on it constantly.
Sure, sure. So now, what's your current state? Well, how many VAs do you have? What's their roles?
I have 2 VAs, and one, Hannah, is my social media manager, and
Okay.
I'm probably, we'll see. With a lot of AI, I may not need to, but I may be maxing her out because I've got 2 different podcasts that also go on YouTube, plus all the regular social media. So I'm keeping her pretty damn busy. But I think with some of the AI that we're putting into place, we'll pull a little bit of the pressure off her. Otherwise, I could see myself hiring a full-time video editor in the next 6 months. Um, but I'm not sure. And
Okay.
then my other one is my executive assistant, Jelly, and she kind of fills in all the blanks. She does a lot of the other stuff. She goes through my email and gets me off subscription lists and handles a lot of the
Huh.
little emails that don't need my direct attention. Keeps my email thin down. I also use a tool called Fixer. Have you ever used Fixer? Your audio went away. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
sorry. I guess I muted myself there for a second. So is that like FYXTR or something like that?
FYXER.
Yes, yes. I've seen that.
As an EXP agent, as a capper, you get it for free.
Nice. That's
So,
nice. So is that
so
what's been your experience with that as far
it's
as
it's another one where I learned it. I know how to use it, but I'm not proficient yet. However, the
okay.
very basics of it is that it goes in your email, in your Gmail, and it goes through and looks at all your emails, it goes and reads your emails, so it knows how to respond in the way that you would respond to an email. It
Okay.
categorizes your emails into 9 different categories, and but mostly I
Huh.
want is there's one thing. One category is called to reply. And if there's an email that needs my reply, it's in that category. So out of all
Oh,
the emails that come in my inbox, every morning I look at to reply. There's a bunch of other stuff I need to take a glance at and be nice to read and newsletters and stuff. But what's in to reply, number one, it means it's prioritized. It needs my response. I need to pay attention. Number
okay.
two, it automatically drafts the reply and then it saves it as a draft so that I can hit send or I can edit it or I can delete it and start over. But I would say 80% of the time the draft is right on. Or I may make a couple little changes to personalize it a little bit or something. But just the fact that it puts it into that category alone, even without the right drafting a reply, that is amazing because that's always, when you get busy doing other things. I don't know about you, but I've been known, you come back and haven't really delved into the email that much in a few days. Then you sit down and go through and delete the 150 or 300 emails. And it's
Yeah,
always making
at
sure
least, at
there's
least, yeah.
something important. We get important email that, transactional stuff that we need to deal with. And we want to be on top of that. So and the fact that it's free, I was at the EXP regional rally sometime earlier this year. I can't remember when that was, February maybe. And Glenn Sanford was up on stage and he talked about that and mentioned that it was going to be free for cappers and whatever's when you what's the next level?
Icons,
Icon, that's the word.
icons. Yeah,
Word just
yeah.
slipped my mind. Yeah, if you're a capper or an icon, it was going to be free. And so I actually went home and signed up for it and paid for it for a few months until they announced and they released it free. So yeah, because
So
AI
that's good.
and VAs are it's a combination of the two. It's really what's saving our bacon.
That's awesome. And so I've heard you talk about Fixer. I've heard you talk about Slack. Okay, and what other tools? I don't know what CRM you use. What are you using for CRM in your business? And is your VA involved at all in your CRM? I guess I'm curious about that too.
Yeah, I'm using KV Core for my real estate business, and
Okay.
she is involved in that in kind of staying on top of what's going on with my leads and sending emails out. Like we just had a price reduction, so she sent an email out to all the people that will come in on that property, updates, stuff like that. So yeah, she's in there. Then I'm also building out Go High Level for my the Sphere Rocket side of the business for the white label. So that's I'm getting ready to
Okay.
start doing some webinars both for real estate and for Sphere Rocket. So
Yeah.
building out Go High Level to uh, be the landing page and all the reminders for that whole process. Um, so
Let
she's
me ask
involved
you
in that as
this.
well.
Yeah, thank you. Let me ask you this: the Go High Level, and I just know a little bit about it. I haven't really researched it heavily, and I'm not sure how deeply you've looked into it yet. Do you foresee that would become your central CRM and overtake what KV Core is doing for you now, or do you think they'd work in tandem with each other? What's your thoughts on that? Have you looked into that yet?
I suspect I'll stay with KV Core for real estate. Because it's got the built-in website and it can send people properties and all that stuff. And I have no idea whether Go High Level could do that, but I think for that purpose, a real estate dedicated CRM is probably a better choice. And I've
Yeah.
chosen, EXP just came out with this CRM of choice, and you have a choice of 3 different CRMs you can use. And I am not 100% that KV Core is the best of the three, but KV Core is the one that I've been using, and I have switched CRMs a couple of times in my career, and I have zero interest in doing so again. So it's
Painful. It's
so,
very painful. Yes.
so just learning Go High Level is a different thing. But yeah. So I'm sticking with KV Core, and I will. I'm using it for this webinar. But as I get leads that become clients, I will move them into KV, or my VA will move them into KV Core. And we'll probably actually move everybody into KV Core for follow up, because we'll just put them in there and just keep all the actual real estate follow up in one place.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, in the tools that you've got, are there other ones that you haven't mentioned yet? I'm really curious because, and let me step back for a second. When I'm doing some of my presentations about virtual assistants, let me see if you concur on this or maybe you have a different opinion. I talk about how do you leverage, right? And so I think in my opinion, there's three big categories of leverage. The first would be self-improvement, or, being better trained yourself, going to masterminds, things where you're elevating your own ability and or learning and wisdom. That's number one. Number two, I think, is technology, which, like you mentioned, there's a burden with that, and there's a burden with, growing yourself as well. There's time, money, and effort involved in that. But then you got software. Every time you take on, or you switch software or a new website, or, new online, whatever it is, even just bringing on something like Adobe, Acrobat or something, it's got all these things they can do. Which ones do I really need? Which ones, am I going to use on a day-to-day basis? When I want to do something, what's it called? Which item on the taskbar do I use? And I got to go YouTube it to find out what I need to do in the program. So you've got all this time, right, going in. And then third, you've got people, right? So you've got a hire, which, we're talking about that. And the thing about that is, most of the time, if you make a good hire, that person is going to not only relieve you of those tasks that you're trying to delegate, they also bring an element of the ability to go train. So, for example, if you wanted to move to Go High Level from KV Core, you could hire a VA that has Go High Level experience, or at least somebody that
Right.
has, the ability, and say, I want you to go watch every training video on Go High Level that you can get your hands on, take their courses or whatever, and then come back to me and tell me, what do I need to do to make it work, right? So suddenly you've taken the burden of learning and having to know every detail about it. And I'm not saying you just divorce yourself of, just not know anything. Some people would recommend that. I don't recommend that, because you can be, then you need some wisdom in that area to be able to make good decisions, right?
I
So,
agree.
but then you got that person, they've got the depth of knowledge, and they're a lot of times the VAs, like my VAs, they're excited. Yeah, I'll go learn that. I'll figure it out, and I'll help you. We'll do it, right? And so suddenly it's like, that is such a relief. Would you say you concur, like, in general, those? Do you have a different opinion about what the categories are and the difficulty of each one of those, as far as getting leveraged in your business?
No, I agree with you right down the board. I mean, I think I the constant improving yourself. I think that for me, that's just part of life. That's everything
Sure.
I've ever done in my
Not that
life.
you wouldn't do it, right? Not that you wouldn't do it, but
Right.
yes, yes,
Yeah. But that's not everybody. That's absolutely. There's plenty of
right,
people in the world that are just content with their little box and they're happy there. And I don't understand it, but they're not my world. That's fine.
right, right.
But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I love learning. I love the mastermind. I love, you know, networking with people like yourself, and sharing ideas. But and then yeah, the technology. The technology is massive, and I've had ADHD for probably every one of my 62 years on the planet, and it's so that shiny object syndrome is a
Yep.
real thing. It's like
Yes, it is.
you're scrolling on Facebook and, oh, look at that. Oh, that can do that. Oh, that's cool. Let me get the demo. Let me try that. I'm getting way better at not doing that. Um, but that's actually one of the reasons to go high level. So here's this was I about 4 months ago started looking into go high level, maybe 6 months ago. Actually talked to my VAs. Hey, we're going to start transitioning. We're going to look at this. And then I had one weekend where I was just like, okay, scale it back. And on Monday, I said, we're not doing anything with go high level. Just forget about it. Don't worry about it. And it was a couple months went by, and then I dug into it again. And go high level replaces a whole bunch of other things. Just the financial side of it. I mean, it's $100 a month and $97 a month, and it replaces a whole bunch of other apps that I'm paying more than that for. And so,
Interesting.
but there's the learning curve. So I haven't canceled all that. I've canceled one so far. We're slowly transitioning because I need to get my team. They got to learn how to use the go high level for that in that aspect. But yeah, and then like you said, the whole thing with the training is like
Yeah.
I gave Jelly. I bought her 3 courses on Udemy on go
Yeah.
high level and said, here you go. Either you can spend 4 or 5 hours a day doing this. That's fine.
Yep.
This is important. I need you to know it better than I do. I do still, as I've been playing with computers for 40 years, and honestly, my computer skills have helped me in every job I've ever had. Even though I've never had a job where the job entailed, you was required a computer skill, but it's helped me stand out.
Yes.
So I feel I need to be fairly proficient. I don't need to know everything. They can, learn the rest of it, but I do need to understand how it all works, and I'm ultimately responsible. It's my business, and if something happened and my VA left or didn't, whatever happened, then I need to at least know how it works. So,
Sure.
but yeah,
Sure.
the training them, and both my VAs are totally on board. They love learning. Hannah, who does my social media, I've got her using some AI tools. We're doing Hey Gen right now, which generates actual videos of really scared my wife because I made a video of me talking, standing in this mountain range talking, and I had hair. And she's like, that's freaky. um, but and I don't think it's not ready for prime time yet. I mean,
Yeah.
we've posted a few videos, but we're kind of just playing with it. But I want them to be up to speed because 6 months from now, that video will be 5 times the quality it is today. And so if we don't know how to use she doesn't know
Yes.
how to use the tools. That's not the time to start learning. So
Right. Right.
right, yeah. So
I agree with you. And I think the whole idea of, I mentioned this in one of the meetings today too. I said, uh, imperfect action beats perfect inaction every time, right? So you just need to get on it and then iterate. And I think people understand, especially in the video world, they don't want the polished stuff from most of the things they're trying to watch. Now, if you're trying to get a good version of some song you wanted to listen to or whatever on YouTube, that's a different thing. But
oh no, it's not. I got some music software
yeah,
that will blow
yes.
your mind.
Well, what I'm saying is that if I want a good version of a song, I will want I don't know. I guess I'd say polished version, but that. But in most cases, like if you're doing something, they don't mind. That's why we like you know gag reels and stuff like that, right? Here's how I goofed up. We know it wasn't perfect. We love gag reels. Oops, I said the wrong thing. Or oops, I laughed. Right now they've got all these Seinfeld gag reels that they're putting out on YouTube, and they're hilarious. Where they couldn't keep Julia couldn't keep her composure and started laughing, or something like that, and it's just funny. So people love that real life stuff. So, well, Reid, hey, I was wondering, I'd like to wrap up here, and I also would like to invite you back, possibly maybe even with Jelly or Hannah, or maybe one each or something. Would you be open to maybe coming back and doing another podcast with me
Sure.
with them and kind of like interact a little bit more to find out what they're doing on a day-to-day basis for you and kind of get an idea? I would love to do that.
Yeah, that would be fun. That'd be fun.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds good. Yeah. Well, let me wrap this up. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Reid Schwartz again, EXP Realty and white label partner with Sphere Rockets. Just glad to have you on, Reid. Thank you.
All right, Paul. It's been great.